Virgo, my beautiful Virgo, I need you to stop whatever you are doing right now. And I need you to breathe with me for just a moment because when I went into your energy today, something stopped me completely. I felt it in my chest first. This pressure, this urgency, like something had been waiting, waiting and waiting and waiting. And it could not wait one more day without getting to you, without making sure you knew what I am about to tell you. I am still shaken a little, and I want you to understand why. Because what I am about to deliver to you is not the kind of message that I can sit with quietly and describe calmly from a detached and neutral place. It is moving too much for that. It is too significant for that. And you deserve to receive it in the full and urgent form that it arrived in when it came through for you today. So here I am, still shaking, delivering this as quickly as I can because you need to know. Now, whew, Virgo, I see you right now. Not the version of you that you show the world. The version underneath that, the one that has been carrying something heavy for longer than anyone around you realizes. Because you are so good at making it look like you are fine, because the Virgo way is to process everything internally, quietly, without making anyone uncomfortable, with the actual weight of what you are holding. I see the tiredness behind the composed exterior. I feel the specific kind of heavy. That comes from being strong for a long time without anyone being strong for you in the same consistent and reliable form that you have been strong for everyone else in the situations that required it of you, without complaint, without announcement, just quietly handling it the way Virgo handles everything. And there is something else I feel in your energy right now, something that most people in your life have completely missed because you have been so careful to keep it contained. There is a specific person whose name or face or presence came into my awareness the moment I entered yours. Before I had even asked about love or connection, before I had even oriented toward the relational dimension of what I was reading for you today, this person was simply there in your energy, taking up a significant amount of space in the way that people take up space in us when we have not yet resolved what they mean to us or what we mean to them or where things actually stand between us and the person who keeps occupying our interior without our having invited the occupation or been able to end it simply by deciding to, you know exactly who I am talking about. You felt them the moment I mentioned a specific person. In that particular recognition of someone whose name arrives, before you have even consciously identified that it would be them, because some part of you already knew that they were the person whose energy has been weaving through yours in the sustained and uninvited way that I am reading right now, in the space of your current interior. This is the emergency part, so stay with me. I need you to hear every word. What I am feeling from this person's energy is something I was not expecting when I began reading for you today. and the unexpectedness of it is part of what produced the shaking that I mentioned at the beginning of this message. This person is not where you think they are emotionally or in terms of what is happening in them. In the interior dimension of their experience of the current situation between them and you. Whew! Let me describe what I am actually feeling from them. In the specific and honest terms, that will make the emergency quality of this message clear to you as the real and urgent thing it is, rather than the general and reassuring form that most readings take when they are describing someone's feelings toward the person being read for. I feel panic in them, real panic, not the dramatic kind, not the visible kind that announces itself in the obvious external behaviors that panic sometimes takes when it has permission to be visible, the quiet kind of panic that a person feels when they realize that something they thought was going to stay available to them might not stay available in the form they need it to stay available in for as long as they need it to be there, before they have fully resolved what they want to do about it and what they are willing to do about it, and whether they have what it takes to do what doing something about it requires of someone who has been avoiding the full weight of the situation for as long as avoiding was manageable, and who is now feeling that avoiding is no longer as manageable as it was before. The panic is produced by something specific, and I need to name it directly, because naming it directly is what the emergency of this message is for. They are feeling your energy shifting away from them, and the feeling of your energy shifting away from them is producing the panic that I am reading right now in the space of what they are going through internally while you are going through your own version of things on your side without knowing what your shift is producing in them in the panicked and urgent interior form I am describing. Your energy shifting is not something you have done deliberately or consciously or as a strategy. In the managed form of someone who is creating distance intentionally to produce a response from the person they want to respond. It is the natural and necessary shift of someone who has been waiting and hoping and investing, and at some point began the slow and often unconscious process of redirecting their energy back toward themselves, because the waiting and hoping and investing was costing more than was being returned. In the sustainable and proportionate form that connections need to be returning for the energy to continue flowing toward them, rather than being redirected back toward the person it belongs to. In the recovery form of someone who is protecting themselves without necessarily having made the conscious decision to do so, the shift is natural and real, and they are feeling it in the specific and panicked way of someone who relied on you being available in the form you have been available, and who is now sensing that the form is changing in a way they cannot simply ignore or wait out or hope will reverse itself without their having to do something about the situation between you that their distance contributed to creating. Spirit is showing me something specific now about what they have been doing in the interior of their days while this has been unfolding on both sides of the space between you. They open their phone and they scroll to your name and they sit with their thumb hovering over the message that would begin the conversation that they need to have and have not had for reasons that have more to do with what that conversation requires of them than with anything about you or anything they think you would say or do. They type something and they read it back, and it does not say what they need to say in the form they need to say it in, and they delete it and put the phone down and pick it up again 10 minutes later and open your name again and sit with the hovering thumb again. This has been happening more than once in the recent days, and the frequency of it is increasing as the panic increases with the feeling of your energy shifting. That is producing the urgency in the hovering and the deleting and the putting down and picking up that I am reading right now in the specific and vivid form of something that is actually happening in their actual life in the recent and specific days that preceded this message. Virgo, I need you to hear the next part very carefully, because this is where the emergency deepens into something even more significant than what I have already described. They are close to sending the message that they have been composing and deleting in the hovering and not sending form. That the panic and the urgency are building toward in the specific and tipping point form that I am reading as very close rather than distant or theoretical in the way that some future events feel when they are still far from the arrival point. This is close, and the closeness is the emergency, because the message that is coming is not a small message. It is not the casual and light reaching out of someone who wants to simply reestablish contact without the weight of everything that the contact is actually carrying in the form it is taking from the interior of the person who has been composing it and deleting it and composing it again for the number of days that the composing and deleting has been happening in the recent and specific period that preceded this message finding you. The message they are going to send is the one that has been forming for the entire period of the distance between you in the interior and accumulated form of everything that has not been said between two people who had more to say to each other than was being said in the visible and external form of their contact. During the period of the distance, everything that was not said is in the message that is coming, in the compressed and significant form of something that has been waiting for the right moment and for the courage that the right moment requires. of someone who has been carrying the unsaid thing and who is now in the position of the panic of your energy shifting, making the courage more available than it was before the panic arrived, in the specific and clarifying form of something that is more frightening than the sending of the message. Had previously seemed, I need to say something to you directly now, Virgo, and I need you to really let this in the full and complete form, rather than the managed and partial form, that you sometimes allow things in when they are about your own value and your own significance to the people in your life, the panic they are feeling at the thought of losing your energy and your availability and your specific and irreplaceable presence in the form it has been present in their life is evidence of something you need to hear directly. You matter to them more than they have shown, more than the behavior of the distance period would suggest, more than the silence communicated, more than you have probably allowed yourself to believe. In the quiet and honest interior of your own assessment of how much you matter to the specific person who has been occupying your energy and whose panic I am reading as the most direct available evidence of the mattering that their behavior was not showing during the period of the distance. The behavior was not the full picture, Virgo. And this is the thing. That makes this an emergency message rather than simply a reassuring one. Because the full picture is different from what the behavior was showing. In the significant and specific form of someone whose interior was not matching their exterior during the period of the distance and whose exterior is about to change to match the interior in the message that is coming and the conversation that follows it when the hovering finally becomes the sending, that the panic and the urgency are building toward in the tipping point form that is very close now. Spirit keeps saying the same thing to me over and over as I stay in this energy for you, Virgo. Do not close the door. Not yet. Not before the message arrives in the full and significant form that it is building toward from the interior of the person who has been composing it in the hovering and deleting and composing again form that I have been reading for you today as the specific and urgent evidence that something is moving toward you right now. That deserves the door to remain open for a little longer before the assessment of the full situation is made final and the door is closed in the permanent and settled form of something that is done. It is not done, Virgo. That is the emergency message. In its most direct and specific form, it is not done. And the message that is coming will confirm it in the full and arriving form of everything that the distance and the silence and the behavior that did not match the interior was temporarily covering while the person on the other side of the distance was working through what they needed to work through to arrive at the point of the sending, that the panic of your energy shifting is now accelerating toward, in the specific and urgent form of someone who is running out of time to keep the unsaid thing in the interior and unexpressed form that it has been in for the full period of the distance. Stay open, Virgo, in the grounded and self-possessed form of someone who is not waiting anxiously or checking their phone constantly or holding their energy in the anticipating position. That would cost more than the waiting is worth. But in the calm and present form of someone who simply knows what is coming and who is living their life fully and completely, while the message makes its way from the interior of the person composing it to the visible and shared space between them and you, where it will arrive when the courage has fully formed and the hovering becomes the sending. Spirit wants you to know, before I close this message, that what is coming for you is not just closure and not just an apology and not just a conversation that explains the silence. It is something more significant than any of those things, in the specific and arriving form of something that changes the shape of things between you and this person in a way that the distance period was always preparing for, without either of you fully knowing that the preparation was happening on both sides of the space between you. You are protected, Virgo, in the real and specific form of someone whose energy is being watched over by something that knows exactly where this is going. And that sent this message to you today in the emergency and urgent form, because the timing of your knowing matters for how you receive what is coming, in the prepared and open form of someone who saw this message first and who is ready. Hold on just a little longer. Beautiful Virgo, the message is coming, and it is going to say everything you needed to hear. For as long as the distance has been what it has been between you and this person who is composing and deleting and composing again. Right now, as you are reading this, I want to say one more thing before I release your energy and let this message settle. What you have been going through during the period of the distance has not been nothing. I feel this clearly, and I need you to hear it clearly. The confusion, the nights of replaying conversations, the moments of wondering if you were reading things wrong or too much into them, all of it, all of the carrying of the uncertainty in the specific and quiet Virgo way of someone who processes everything alone before showing any of it to the world outside. That was real and proportionate, and you were not overreacting, and you were not imagining things. The specific things you sensed in the quiet, intuitive way that Virgo senses things before they are visible were accurate. You were right about all of it. Virgo, and the message that is coming will confirm both the perception and the intuition. In the full and arriving form, this is why I am still shaking. Beautiful Virgo, because what is coming for you is significant. In the real and personal and specific form of something that is about to change, the shape of what has been into something more honest and more real, behind the distance and the silence and the composing and deleting and composing again. That is still happening right now. On the other side of the space between you, you are ready, Virgo, in the full and prepared form of someone who now knows what is coming and is living their life from the grounded and self-possessed place while it finds its way to them.